These are the things you didn't know about. Let's go.
Welcome.
Welcome. Today's really tall buildings are built to show off wealth and stuff like that. And simple high-rise buildings have become something commonplace, like in Japan. Here, builders face an obvious problem. It's not enough to create a tall building. You also need to make it strong and stable enough for a skyscraper to survive an earthquake. Tall buildings are designed so that they don't collapse from earthquakes. And the result is this. Huge buildings that sway from side to side, as if they were made from rubber. But the amazing thing is, none of this harms them in any way. Feels good to rub your eyes. Don't even try to deny it. Everyone has done it at least once for a little longer than it takes. But have you ever wondered what such an action looks like from the inside? A little intimidating, to be honest. By the way, rubbing stimulates the production of tear fluid, which makes irritated or tired eyes moisturized. Of course, it's a pleasure. And in addition, eye rubbing causes your heart rate to slow down and your stress level to decrease. It's this mechanism that calms us when we rub our eyes. Everyone has probably seen how car crash tests are conducted. Everybody's seen how all sorts of safety systems are tested too. But what about dogs? Well, for a long time, no one thought at all about the fact that they too need protection in case of accidents. But for a few years now, various companies have been conducting tests similar to human tests, only for dogs. And it looks like it's pretty funny. A crash test for a plush toy, and it's probably driven by a teddy bear. Okay, it's actually a very important thing. How about this? A blue volcano. Of course, the volcano itself isn't blue, and it looks like the most ordinary mountain in Indonesia, but it's unique in that it hides a half-mile wide turquoise-colored acidic crater lake and emissions of hydrogen sulfide. The gas is so hot that its temperature reaches 1,112 degrees Fahrenheit. It ignites blue and turns into a unique natural phenomenon, but the glow is weak, so the flame can only be seen at night. Although sometimes it reaches 16 feet, this is the largest area of blue flame in the world. Well, in the stunningly beautiful thing, of course. When you look at a high-voltage power line, this huge tower stands in the middle of some field or forest. It seems as if it's always been there. But power lines don't grow out of the ground like mushrooms, do they? Of course, now they're assembled right on the spot, and damn it, it's the coolest construction I've ever seen. Few people know this, but all you need is a frozen lake and a rock to create the sound of Imperial stormtroopers firing. If you're about to run to the nearest lake with a heavy brick, wait a minute. In fact, several other factors should coincide. Sliding rocks across a frozen lake doesn't necessarily produce those sounds, for several reasons. The lake has to only be partially solid, because both the vibrations of frozen and unfrozen water are necessary. The height above sea level also plays a role. Also, different ice makes different sounds. The cleaner it is, the higher it sings. And yes, bricks are unlikely to work. Try something smaller. For insectophobe people who are terrified of insects, this place will seem like hell. But most people on Earth treat butterflies well. So welcome to the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve. This is an area in the Mexican state of Michoacan and partly in the state of Mexico City, covering an area of 128,000 acres. The park contains 8 colonies of this butterfly, and every year from November to March, up to 1 billion individuals winter here. The monarchs make a regular migration, traveling almost 2,500 miles, crossing the border between the United States and Mexico, and ending up in the reserve. These butterflies gather in colonies and settle on pine trees. In most cases, there are so many that the trees turn orange and the branches sag under their weight. It's an absolutely unique situation and a very, very exciting sight. Evolution has made us into some pretty funny creatures with unnecessary organs, unusual abilities, and sometimes frightening details. Take, for example, the Fimbriated folds, the area of mucous membrane on the lower part of the tongue that runs on either side of the frenum. This is simply residual tissue that the body forgot when it formed the tongue. Chances are you don't even notice it unless you're one of the small percentages of people whose Fimbriated folds look like tentacles. Oh, that's disgusting. But also, it's quite normal. No disease or abnormality, just the human body. It's a weird thing. What do you do when it snows so much that it covers all the roads and paralyzes traffic? Well, you build snow walls like Game of Thrones, or like in Japan, of course, or rather cut through an entire snow corridor and do it in such a way that it coincides with the road. It seems like the first time something like this was done was back in the 70s, but what used to be a necessity today has become a magnet for tourists. You bet. It's a huge snow wall, almost 800 inches high. Who wouldn't want to check this out? By the way, thanks to the development of technology, road clearing times are about a week, and there are sensors installed in the walls. They record the strength of the snow and the seismic situation on the site. It's a really useful thing, considering how often Japan has earthquakes. Okay, to be honest, I'm not really good at herding sheep. I mean, after all, I'm not a dog. And they, by the way, not only know how to herd sheep in the right direction and protect them from predators, but they also invented sheep surfing. What else would you call these runs on furry backs? And I don't know what's more surprising, the fact that the dogs keep their balance when everything beneath them is bleeding and swaying, or is it the fact that the sheep don't care at all what's going on up there? Most people have an idea of what a ship caught in a big storm looks like. There are movies and cartoons and all sorts of pictures. However, most often ships are depicted on the outside, but what happens inside the ship is left out of the picture. Well, that's a shame. Look at it. It immediately becomes clear why furniture and other important items on ships need to be firmly fixed so they don't fly back and forth during a storm. And yes, I hope you don't get seasick because these shots could make you seasick, even if you're standing firmly on the ground right now. In the mid-2000s, a presidential park opened in the U.S. state of Virginia, and it looked, to put it mildly, a little strange. Under the open sky, there were 42 busts of the U.S. presidents. The statues, almost 20 feet tall, were supposed to teach students the history and art of sculpture, and residents from neighboring states would come to see the park and take a walk in it. In reality, the statues have taught only how to spend a lot of money for nothing. In 2010, due to a lack of visitors, the park closed, and the busts had to be destroyed. But Howard Hankins, one of the creators, just couldn't do it. Instead, he bought the statues and moved them to his private property. And for several years now, the presidents have stood in the middle of a field, the paint's gradually peeling off, and the pieces are falling off too. Some have already lost the backs of their heads. Some have lost their noses. It's a sad sight. Today, in order to wake up at the right time, it's enough to ask a voice assistant or set the alarm with a couple of taps on a smartphone screen. Makes you wonder, what did people do before?
Wakey, wakey.
No, even before there were alarm clocks in every home, the option with roosters wasn't suitable for cities. And then the profession of a knocker-up was invented. It emerged during the Industrial Revolution in England and Ireland, and it existed until the 1920s. They used batons, sticks, and canes, which were used to knock on the doors of customers who lived on the first floor, or long and light sticks to reach the windows of the upper floors. Sometimes a blowpipe was used to shoot peas at a window. The knocker-upper received a few pence a week for their work. You have to admit, it's quite difficult to sleep in such conditions. You can hardly turn off a person with a cane. When you live outdoors, some wild animals might well sneak in unnoticed for breakfast. Of course, there's nothing strange. Possums, squirrels, raccoons, and other little animals have long been perceived as somewhat normal. Or giraffes. Wait, what? Giraffes. Yeah, you got it right. Giraffes peeking through the window is a traditional sight at the Giraffe Manor Boutique Hotel in Kenya. The animals come to the mansion in the morning, and sometimes in the evening poke their heads through the windows and wait for a treat. The guests are given special bags with food, and giraffes can lick someone as a thank you. Nearby are warthogs, antelopes, hyenas, and almost 200 species of birds. Fortunately, not all of them come for breakfast. I mean, who'd want to share a meal with another Pumbaa? Blackheads have been artificially bred for centuries. They were first described by Dutch colonial settlers. Surely the poor souls were shocked by such exoticism, and we could understand them. The birds have black plumage with a green tint, black paws, claws, beak, tongue, skin, comb, and beard, eyeballs, meat, bones, and internal organs. Only the blood is red, but it's still darker than what you'd find in a normal chicken. This breed is so unique that in Indonesia alone, one individual costs about $200. In other countries, the cost can go up to several thousand. Bartos Ostlowski, a Pole, is the only professional car racer in the world without arms. He lost both of his limbs in a motorcycle accident at the age of 20. And you have to admit, many would be disappointed in life after that and give up their dreams forever. But Bartos turned out to be a pretty stubborn guy. After 3 years of hard work, he became the first ever amputee without arms to get a professional racing license. He shifts gears with the shoulder and drives the car with his feet. Watching Bartos drifting is both terrifying and mesmerizing at the same time. And in his spare time, this incredible man paints pictures. Yes, with his feet too. Because for Bartos, nothing seems to be impossible at all. People just love to put things in the wrong places. Oh, I'm not talking about what you're thinking. Come on, children are watching. Actually, this is about Nemos Garden underwater farm. The farm consists of 6 air-filled plastic containers attached to the bottom of the sea with ropes, chains, and weights. The containers maintain the necessary microclimate, all at the bottom of the sea, near the Italian town of Noli. Nemos Garden has already managed to grow strawberries, herbs, garlic, and beans. From time to time, storms damage and even destroy the farm, but the owners rebuild everything to learn how to grow food in regions where it's not possible because of the climate. Also because underwater beans are fun. If you think New Zealand is mostly famous for Lord of the Rings, then, well, I mean, yeah, mostly it is. But there are plenty of amazing things to see here. For example, the Firefly Cave. Its vault is covered by thousands of mushroom mosquitoes, creating the impression of looking at the starry sky. The larvae of these insects makes threads with drops of sticky liquid, and they attach them to the vault of the cave, then light up, thus attracting smaller insects, which they eat. Tourists come to admire them. The thing is to not mix them up. To make wooden furniture, you have to cut down a tree, cut out its parts, connect them to each other, or just grow a tree in the shape of a chair. That's exactly what an artist and designer named Gavin Monroe did. He found it full grown, and he has begun to subdue nature. A bush in the shape of a chair? Hey, why not? All you have to do is get the plant moving in the right direction, and in a few years, it'll be just what you need. A chair, a lamp, a table, it all depends on imagination and patience. Every year, the idea of a hotel where the entire staff consists of robots seems less and less fantastic. But Japan was the first to try it, of course, and the Hana Hotel was founded there.
Welcome to the Hana Hotel.
Here, robots check guests in, deliver their luggage to their rooms, help them unpack their things, support simple conversations. Most of all, I like the fact that an Actroid girl speaks Japanese here. But those who prefer English will have to communicate with the dinosaur. And frankly, that raises a lot of questions. We'll see you soon.